Bueno, Carl antes me ha demostrado que es un fan de Kraftwerk, que estamos usando la música de Radioactivity para marcar el final de los tiempos. A lo que él se ha referido es una cosa muy típica en Escandinavia, que es llamar lector a quien, lo que preguntaba Juan Baiseras, a quien escucha libros, audiolibros, perdón. Tengo que decir que como fundación hemos ganado una pequeña batalla porque a la hora de formular PARIX, que es un modelo de seguimiento del comportamiento del lector en todos los países europeos, hemos peleado ahí con nuestros amigos de Escandinavia y al final hemos separado las dos categorías. Por lo tanto, lector es alguien que lee libros, ¿no? Y aquí tenemos a Sara Lloyd. Sara Lloyd es, creo que una persona fundamental, muy importante, porque es un ejemplo de la empresa Pan Macmillan de integrar de una forma transversal todas las estrategias, todas las operaciones que tienen que ver con lo digital. A mí eso me parece un acercamiento interesantísimo. He estado hablando con ella a las 8:00 cuando hemos empezado a reunirnos aquí, y también he visto que pone un acento que yo creo que lo va a recoger en su presentación, que creo que es fundamental porque engarza con el espíritu de PARIX como escuela. Aquí estamos centrados en potenciar el talento del sector del libro. Y ella precisamente cree personalmente y profesionalmente muchísimo en la necesidad de considerar como el activo fundamental, ya sé que parece obvio, a veces no funciona de esa manera, tan obvia, de considerar a los activos, a los recursos humanos, a las personas, como lo crucial de esta industria. Esta es una industria de personas, es lo que viene a decir Sara, y ahora vamos a ver lo que nos quiere contar.
Okay, thank you, Lewis. I have no idea what he just said about me, so hopefully it was correct. Nothing bad? Okay, great. Well, hello everyone, and thank you for having me in this absolutely wonderful venue. It's fantastic to be here with you all and to be able to talk about the emerging topic of AI, as well as all the reasons I'm thrilled to have been appointed Pan Macmillan's Global AI Lead. And I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts and questions later in the session. Without question, this is a dynamic and fast-moving era for innovation with massive impacts, not only to trade publishing and audio publishing, but to society at large. Although we've gone through periods of technological disruption many times in our history, the advent of generative AI has accelerated the need for awareness, understanding, and collaboration like never before. Undoubtedly, there are challenges, but there are also exciting opportunities that have the potential to positively impact how we work and help the teams who work on delivering our readers and listeners to be more meaningfully focused. Now, before we talk about AI itself, let's think about the landscape in which we operate. This context helps us to think more clearly about how we might best approach the topic of AI within publishing. Now, publishing is primarily a people-centered business. It's rooted in intellectual property, protected by copyright, and it has authors, illustrators, and contributors at its heart, and of course, narrators. Publishing is all about connection between authors, their ideas and stories, our narrators and their readers and listeners, with publishers often as the connective tissue. Our people are our top priority because it's the human connections that they and we make and the relationships we create and nurture, which are the basis of our business. But despite the apprehension of some in the industry about AI, it's important to recognize that we have successfully navigated previous industry shifts to digital formats, e-commerce, the shift from business to consumer and digital marketing, and to meet the changing demands of our readers and listeners. We have done this many times before. Publishers can innovate, and publishers can embrace and adapt to change. We do have the skills, the experience, and the will. We've also managed to do so in the past without ceding all the power to bigger players, unlike other creative industries. And perhaps that is because of the significance of human connection to the success of our businesses. We are proudly at the center of the cultural zeitgeist. We are both shaping and being influenced by society. And that's so important when it comes to AI, because it's vital we distinguish ourselves from the competition created by pure AI-generated content, showcasing work born of authentic human creativity and connection. And we have an ethical and fiscal responsibility to navigate AI on behalf of our writers, our creators, our narrators, and our employees, all of whom have varying degrees of trepidation and engagement with the topic. But, okay, here's the primer. What even is AI? What are we actually talking about here? I find when we're talking about AI, it's best to put away these images. It's best to put away images of Skynet and think of AI as a tool. It's much less scary when you think about it that way. Artificial intelligence is essentially a multidisciplinary field of computer science that revolves around the creation, design, and application of algorithms and systems that can demonstrate intelligent behavior. In simpler words, AI refers to machines or systems that can mimic human intelligence: learning, reasoning, problem-solving, perception, and language understanding. AI can operate at two distinct levels: narrow AI and general AI. Narrow AI is where we are now, with AI systems that can perform specific tasks, such as recommending songs on Spotify or recognizing objects in images. Conversely, general AI is a future concept where AI systems have the capability of understanding, learning, adapting, and implementing knowledge across a broad range of tasks, much like a human being. One of the critical parts of AI is machine learning. Machine learning refers to the concept where computer systems learn from data and improve their performance without being explicitly programmed to do so. For example, when you shop online, the suggestions you see are based on machine learning algorithms analyzing your browsing and purchasing habits. So right now, we're all experiencing AI in pretty much every interaction that we have online. But getting down to it, what does it mean for publishers? Now, AI will undoubtedly have a significant and transformative effect on our industry, just as it will for every industry. It has the capacity to potentially assist in a multitude of tasks: manuscript sorting and markup, market trend predictions, improve reader and listener experiences through personalized recommendations, automate mundane tasks, and so on. AI can do all these and more because of its ability to analyze vast amounts of data, and it can speed these tasks up, as it can recognize patterns faster and more accurately than a human ever could. As publishers, the opportunity lies in harnessing this potential to deliver more engaging content, more efficiently, and, importantly, with greater personalization. But AI also comes with myriad challenges. In an ideal world, there will be a marriage of the creative and technology sectors, the technology sector understanding that it needs human creativity to provide the bedrock for its work, and that it needs to seek permission, acknowledge, label, and recompense creators for the content on which it is built, enabling the creative sector, us, to then fully embrace and innovate using AI tools and technologies. I think that's one of the most important things I'm going to say today. Opportunities and challenges. So what are the opportunities and challenges of AI for publishers? Here are some thoughts at a generalized level. I hope you can read these up here. Overall, we want our use of AI always to make a positive difference. We want AI to drive better outcomes for our authors and illustrators, to make their work more widely available and better, more consistently and accurately marketed, and for the long tail to finally receive the attention it deserves. And we want our AI use to make our marketing better targeted so that readers and listeners more readily discover what they want. A challenge and an opportunity is that generative AI will inevitably lead to an absolute explosion of content, ranging from terrible to quite decent. It will include deep fakes, untrustworthy and inauthentic content, which may be indistinguishable from authoritative material, although there's a lot of work going on around that now. So what does this mean for us? As publishers, we must work harder now to convey the value of what we do, to position ourselves and our authors as trusted brands, and to ensure that what we publish is of the highest quality. So, how do we think about this? Moving a little bit more to Pan Macmillan now, and moving on to some specifics about a recommended approach when you're building your own AI strategy within your publishing houses or your businesses. And I advocate, as a starting point, starting with some strong and clear principles. On what basis will we engage with the multifaceted and multiple questions that we need to answer every day as the possibilities and challenges of AI are presented to us, along with the enormous variety of choices we will need to make between possible AI services, tools, and platforms? Our principles at Pan Macmillan are helping us guide our decisions. So at Pan Macmillan, we established and published our guiding principles in early 2023, and they're publicly available on our website and shown here. Primarily, and this is the guiding star, I think, that we take a people-first approach. So in other words, that we use AI to be additive and to enhance our work, to underpin our own creativity or to make us more effective. We're less focused on efficiencies than being effective. And safety, ethics, and transparency about how and where we use AI is vital, as is the need to check AI output for bias. Protecting IP is paramount. It's the foundation of the creative economy and should go without saying, but it's a shared concern for all of us. These principles have given us a guiding star for our business strategy, and we've been able to refer to them each time we face another choice, make another decision, talk about another question around AI. And taking a global, collaborative, cross-functional approach. The impact of AI is universal and it's global, and it requires a high degree of collaboration across geographies, divisions, and functions. It can and will touch every area of our business, and it will impact a shared set of stakeholders around the globe. Across the Macmillan Trade Group, globally, we established a governance structure based on the shared belief that everything we do must be underscored by our values, our principles, and ethics, and that we must join up across territories to mindfully explore and develop answers to the myriad strategic, ethical, and legal questions we'll face when it comes to AI. So we have regional task forces in all our offices, and we're able to ladder up their efforts to a global steering group, which I am extremely privileged to lead. Acknowledging AI's reach and influence and the power it's likely to wield in the future, Macmillan recognized that a centralized role and a cross-functional view was vital, and we're not alone. In the US, the number of AI leadership roles has grown threefold in the past 5 years, according to data from LinkedIn. Organizations including Amazon, Visa, and Coca-Cola have all employed AI chiefs. And the potential of AI to disrupt means the publishing industry cannot risk being left behind. But a centralized AI role like mine should not merely exist to oversee the implementation of AI strategy, but to take the responsibility of helping to equip all our employees and our stakeholders with the necessary skills to use AI in their own roles. Our people-first approach includes empowering our teams through AI training, workshops, speaker events, and more. And the picture on my first slide actually was me hosting an event in-house, just this very sort of thing that we're doing every 6 to 8 weeks with our staff. We also introduced our own proprietary AI chatbot in Macmillan, which all our people have access to worldwide. And in the UK, we've also established a series of stakeholder roundtables to act as a brain trust for supporting our developing strategy. So, first steps. I'm just going to boil it down now to 3 things that I think everyone should consider as you go on your AI journeys. So first of all, play. If you haven't yet tried out any AI tools or allowed your people to do so if you run an organization, how can you judge them? How can you estimate their potential and ideate how AI can be of benefit to your business? I promise you, when we rolled out our proprietary tool at Pan Macmillan and people started to actually use a generative AI tool in their work and just in their conversations, and even doing silly things like writing poems to each other, it made everyone feel a lot more comfortable and less terrified. And I get what Michelle was saying about spending a lot of time having to calm people down, and that's a big part of my job too. But this is so important. Allow people to try the tools out. You will find that ideas will come flooding through from people. Audit. What I mean by that is spend some time analyzing the pain points in your business. What are the difficult, long, lengthy manual processes that people do every day in your publishing businesses that they would rather not be doing, so that they could spend their time on the human connection, which is what makes publishing go round. Think about whether AI tools could solve any of these things for you. Points 1 and 2 relate. When people play with the tools, they think about the manual processes they want to solve, and they work this out. So the audit and play kind of interacts in that way. And finally, consult. Talk openly about the opportunities and the fears and the challenges of AI. Allow people to express their concerns and their ideas, and let's navigate this new territory together. 2 final thoughts. First of all, I want to mention Amara's law. You may have heard this quoted in many speeches about technological change over the years. And that quote is, "We tend to overestimate the effect of a technology in the short run and underestimate the effect in the long run." So right now, there's lots of people worrying about what's going to happen in, say, the next 12 months. Obviously, AI is moving very, very fast. But it is a truth universally acknowledged that we always start by using new technologies to do the things we did before. So for the chatbot to basically replace something that we did as a human being. But actually, it's going to be all the new things that we haven't yet imagined that AI will enable us to do that will truly revolutionize our world. And I wrote about this in my column that I'm writing for the bookseller in the UK this last week. So I'll get Javier to send you a link to that. But it's interesting to think about what can AI do that we actually physically couldn't do before. That's going to be where there's much more interesting things to be done. So AI is here to stay. Can we make it part of our story? A chatbot wrote that line. I put that into our chatbot at work, and I said, how can I conclude this speech? And there you go. That's what my chatbot wrote for me. So looking ahead, I urge you to experience AI. Acknowledge the potential, express your thoughts together with your colleagues, take the time to play with the tools, audit your operations, and consider how AI might empower your team and your business. Let's remain poised to make AI part of our unique narrative, building on our strengths, exploring how AI can enhance our efforts, whilst always prioritizing what makes us distinct: human creativity and connection. Thank you.
Los cascos, para ella. Bien, ¿hay alguna pregunta para Sara? Ah, sí. Allí, por favor. Le voy a dejar a Sara. Gracias.
Hi. Hello.
Oh.
I'm going to make my question in English anyway.
Oh. Fantastic.
Always use
less technology, better.
I was a bit curious about how are we going to implement these AI in the book industry, in the most creative side of it. Because it feels to be like you've been talking about how the management side of the book industry can be taken care of and how AI can be implemented, and that makes a lot of sense to me, just as a tool. Now the question is, are you going to have artificial intelligence reading out loud? Are you going to offer products with artificial intelligence offering different voices, different nuances, different accents? Are we going to be doing this with machines? Because we could be offering this, but we could be doing this with humans. But I know this would be much more expensive, it would be much more complex. So my question here is, where's the balance? Do we go crazy with AI and we do all these possible things that AI can do with us? Or do we sort of find the balance? Where's that balance? I'm really curious about the creative side of the implementation of AI.
Yeah. I think it's going to be for every publisher to make those decisions. I think having the principles is incredibly important as a kind of guiding star in terms of making some of those decisions. And I think it's going to be as important to decide what we don't do with AI as well as what we do with AI. I wouldn't presume to tell a room full of publishers what I think you should do in your businesses, what your strategy should be. But I think that we should be very mindful and step forward, enthusiastically, but also with caution. And I think that's all I would say on that topic. I think it's going to be a balance is the answer.
I have one last question. If we have human voices and we have mechanical voices, do you see maybe that's exactly what's going to happen sometime down the line, where we would get to choose, and you have this human voices reading a specific kind of literature, whereas a more mechanical, more manual side, more tutorials could go into a more mechanical, less human. There's a less need for a human voice there, maybe. Do you think that would make sense to you?
It's technically feasible. I think what we do best as publishers is when we understand our markets and we publish to those markets. And I think we'll have to see some of the research that Michelle was talking about. Will listeners want that? Will they want it differently in different categories? I don't know. But I think we need to think about the market and follow the market. But we also need to realize that we operate in a delicate ecosystem of stakeholders, and that some of those stakeholders include the people who read for us. So I think it's going to be an interesting one to see how it turns out.
Thank you.
Hi, Sara.
Spanish?
Hello.
In English?
Yeah. Hi, Sara. I think we have reached the turning point in this morning. My question is in relation to the both questions posed before. Are we going to have in the long run, something like a global constitution regarding the rights and pros and cons of artificial intelligence? Do you think we're going to have some regulations in the coming years? Thanks.
I'm sorry, I didn't completely understand the question. Are you asking whether there's going to be legislation?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Are we going to have something like that? Regulations, legislation, or, it might sound funny, but I mean like a global constitution, because this is global. This is not only about a country or Asia, America, or Europe. This is global. This is something global.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
And I think if you've read anything about the EU AI Act, which if you haven't, I recommend that you do, there's some really good signs within that in terms of checks and balances that are being recommended within that. And sure, it's a global subject, and I guess the EU got out the traps very quickly with that, so it'll be interesting to see if other parts of the world follow and which bits of that they pick up and which bits are different. But certainly I think a lot of what's going to happen in AI is not going to be solved by us in this room. A lot of it is going to be at that kind of global governmental and legislative level, and is needed because checks and balances are absolutely required in this new world that we're entering into.
I didn't want it to be so direct in my question, but I do believe it is a mandatory thing we can go on like this, just thinking and believing the violence is going to come by itself. I don't really think so.
Well, there's obviously individual agency as well. There's individual agency in terms of what we choose to interact with and and the decisions that we make. But some of the problems some of the issues are going to be so big that it's going to have to be dealt with at that kind of legislative level, I think.
Thank you very much.
Bueno, hay más preguntas. Este señor por aquí. Hay dos preguntas. Por aquí ya son las dos últimas, ¿de acuerdo?
Ok, mejor en español, va a ser mejor para todos. Me preguntaba, ¿qué opinas si no hay una cuestión ética esencial de fondo en todo este debate? Y la cuestión ética es que todos estamos al servicio del contenido. Y que si todos estamos al servicio del contenido y aparece un elemento tecnológico, como en su día un invento que se llamó la imprenta, lo que tenemos que hacer es adaptarnos, interpretar adecuadamente, seguramente regular, pero que tenemos que estar al servicio del contenido y tener menos miedo ante la aparición, ante la irrupción de nuevas tecnologías.
the content, something like that. So instead of being so frightful, embrace these tools.
He's asking me whether I believe in that. Okay, so I think the question is, should we avoid being frightened of where AI developments might lead and rather embrace it as a tool? I think that's part of what I'm saying. It's not an either-or in my book. I don't think it's, on the one side, just try not to engage at all or be scared, and on the other side, fully embrace it. I think there is a middle way there where we utilize it, where as a tool it makes sense for our business and where it can enhance our human work and make our lives easier as well and more creative in other ways. I don't think it's an either-or.
La última.
Thank you. So my question is, I'm quite concerned about the flood of AI-generated content, like in all streams. I mean, publishing, internet, blogs, everything. And I was wondering, what actions are taking publishers like Pan Macmillan regarding new manuscripts, and these authors are sending content for you guys that is written by AI, because it has a lot of problems at the stage it is, like hallucinations, it makes things up, it is lacking a lot of consistency. So I was wondering, is there any safeguarding, any tools you are using to, when you get a new manuscript to say, well, this looks like AI, and to, evaluate it correctly? And thank you.
Yes, really good question. So if you remember the principles I put up at the beginning, we've talked about taking a human-centric, a human-first approach to when we use AI tools. And what that means is that it's human input to create the output, and then it's also a human check in terms of the output. So when we, for example, rolled out our tool in-house, it came with quite a significant amount of guidance in terms of that level of human interactivity that's required and the kind of health warnings that went with that. So, AI can produce biased content, for example, because it's built on the internet, full of bias. And also it can produce hallucinations, as you correctly called them, which is basically just things that the AI makes up, because it's just a statistical model, so it just looks for the most likely plausible answer, which can sometimes actually also be the wrong answer. So that human-first principle is so important. It's not just a principle that we talk about, it's actually how we work with the tool day to day. And if you think about it, in a human-centric business, if we were using any tool, we would expect to apply our human judgment, our critical thinking. That's what we're employed for, that's what we're being paid to do. And so that's the way that we've kind of built our thinking up around how we use AI tools in the business.
Ok, entonces, thank you very much. Vamos...